This is a video on upgrading your brake ducts or your brake cooling on a C6 Grand Sport, or I believe this would work on a Z06 as well. Factory ducts terminate here. Mine is a 2.5 inch OD, and what I'm doing is adding some of this tubing I received from Pegasus Racing Supply, I believe it's called. This is 2.5 inch ID, high temp silicone tubing, and I'm gonna connect it to this exit port and connect it somewhere down by the spindle ducts here. Okay, after you remove the front tire, I take the sensor for, I believe, the ABS and remove it from this bracket. I'm going to mount this stainless steel bracket to stainless steel hose clamp to this bracket. To mount the hose clamp to the bracket, I took a center punch, a real sharp center punch, punched 2 holes in the center clamp or in the hose clamp, deburred on a grinding wheel, and then I drilled 1/8 inch holes into this bracket. The small ones, you could probably use the bigger ones if you want, and use some washers. I opted to drill new 1/8 inch holes, and I'll rivet this to the plate and gives it a nice rigid mounting point for the hose. Should look something like that. Riveted on, I'm using aluminum rivets. Next step is to measure the hose. The length of tube that worked for me was 13.5 inches. I go, tilt the rotor furthest out and measure what you think. Start long and trim it back and see what works. I already did the driver's side, so I know 13.5 inches works. The factory duct has an OD of 2.5 inches. This hose has an ID of 2.5 inches, so it's very, very tight. I start by, tucking the plastic factory duct inside the ID of this tube, and then I thread it, I screw it on, and it actually goes on quite nice and tight. And then I use 5/32 hardware here. I just have some aluminum rivets with stainless steel washer. I just want something with a little more meat, a little more surface area to bite into, and a 5/32 drill bit. I'm using 3 rivets because I can't get a 4th one in there. I guess I didn't really try, but it seems pretty rigid, pretty secure. Holes drilled. As soon as I get done drilling a hole, I put the rivet in before I clamp the rivet down, or before I drill any more holes. Lining up these holes could be very painful if you don't do it. So drill a hole, put a rivet in right away, it stays in place. Drill another hole. Make sure you leave room so you can actually get the rivet gun in there. Okay, there's the rivets installed with the washer. It feels pretty good. Next is to just feed the hose through the hose clamp. And I'll set it up. Put the hose clamp right in between the wire grooves. I'll put it just about like that. And zip tie the hose to the A-arm, and so there's the finished product. Zip tied the hose to the upper A-arm. Zip tied the ABS sensor to the bottom of the hose in close proximity to where it was before. And then I also put some reflective, very little insulated heat tape on the tie rod end here. I heard that these things tend to boil. I would like to do one for the lower ball joint too, but ran out of tape, so I might have to do that before I do a track day. Again, this is very rigid. It's shouldn't go anywhere. Yeah, if you have any questions, comment below.